How you doing? We're looking at Nashville. A bit of a rewind, talking about the last year's race at Nashville. And this was a true onion. A lot of layers into this one, so let's kind of dissect it. First point that we want to talk about with Nashville is that the inside lane on the restarts is the place you want to be. Okay, and it's not necessarily because of where the restart zone is. It's not because of how turn one is. It's because you're taking a shorter route around the corner on turn one. We don't have as much banking on the outside. The second place car on the outside lane cannot pass the leader out of turn two. Okay, it is most likely a situation where the leader is by themselves as they come out of turn two and they're double file for the rest of the field back. Why is this important? Well, it's because it makes the pole sitter incredibly important. It hinders the guy in second place at the start of the race because not only is he most likely not getting the lead at any point, he's going to be contending for third and fourth place as they fly into turn three. What else does this do? What else does this lock in? It locks in whoever leads pit road first, okay? So pit road is yet again important. We even saw last year, and we'll get into it at the end of the race, but we saw last year Logano take two tires and take the lead from actually, step back. We'll talk about that as we go through the race. But we saw Joey Logano take two tires, and he got passed within 4 laps after taking that because they went on a long run. His tires just weren't there. At the same time, we saw that staying out on old tires, you couldn't get through the field on new tires at the end of the race. Okay, and so I think the pole sitter is going to be a huge player. I think I find it very hard to believe that you don't need the pole sitter. I look at this race in a situation where clearly pit lane is important. We saw a lot of similar form at Nashville compared to what they were doing at Charlotte, compared to what they were doing at Darlington, Kansas, Dover, all the other intermediate tracks leading up to this. Okay, and so those are the main takeaways of how the racing was. Now, a recap of the actual race in and of itself was we see Hamlin, who yet again starts first, is not even fought with. Nobody's even there to compete with Hamlin on the restarts. He is gone. And we quickly realize that it's not because he started first, it's not because he got the pole, it's just because he's in that spot. He's in the number one spot on these restarts. That's where you want to be. You're not passing anybody under green at this racetrack. I mentioned Hamlin loses the lead on pit lane, and it's not because Logano takes two tires, it's because Hamlin's crew just absolutely screws him. He loses a ton of positions. Hamlin is a bit of a loon, and they put two tires on the guy, and he takes the lead, and he leads for 3 laps. Truex, who has a fantastic car. I also want to add Hamlin, Truex, the Toyotas, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, all were showing speed in the other races last year. You need to remember that they got absolutely screwed at Dover. They got absolutely screwed at Kansas. They got absolutely screwed when everybody wrecked out at Darlington. We had the Wreck Fest in the Coca-Cola 600. This was the first race last year to where they didn't run into any issues, okay? Toyota was up there all day. Because why? Because they were the fastest cars in terms of what they were bringing to the table. They just had terrible luck last year. Okay, why is that important? Who's fast this year? Okay, we'll bring this up and we'll stare at this as I kind of continue to go through. The race guys might remember this cute little thing. A lot of people like this, so I figured I'd bring it back here. Last year, the Toyotas were stupid fast. They just kept having bad luck. They'd either be caught up in wrecks. Cautions want to play out the way they were. Whatever the case happened here. In this race, Byron has an issue. Has to go to the garage. Alex Bowman is taken out early in the race, who was a place differential play. A ton of chalk was on Alex Bowman because he had been showing a lot of speed here. But that took out the Hendrick cars, who were also fast last year. And so Toyota had nobody to contend with at all. Okay, last year's Nashville race was a Toyota smackdown, a Toyota beatdown. Yes, we had Blaney hop up there and lead a lap under yellow, as everything go, but it was mainly the Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin show. And then guess what? Kyle Busch, he runs third all day. He gets the lead on pit lane. It was just a swap of the fastest teams to swap it using pit road to swap the lead because you weren't passing anybody under green. Okay? And then what happens? These dum-dums, these idiots, these absolute morons, the same group of the same team who pitted Nemechek and Sammy Smith in the Xfinity Series at Richmond this year that led to them being a lap down, these guys who, might I remind you, are running second, third, fourth, fifth, who have had the fastest cars, entering a green-white checkered finish, a overtime restart The Toyotas all pit their guys. Makes absolutely no sense at the time. Hindsight clearly doesn't make sense at all. But you have every driver who led laps in this race, who were dominant, who were pushing to be optimal in this race, get absolutely removed, okay? Look, Truex Jr. leads 82 laps, was running second, running third, and that right before they pit. Martin Truex Jr. puts on new tires. They cannot pass the field at all. They come out of the field in the mid-30s. Martin Truex Jr. finishes 22nd. Kyle Busch, who led 54 laps, finishes 21st. We have Denny Hamlin, the guy who was able to get through some positions, but still not enough to actually really make up for it. You know, I mean, Hamlin's optimal, but you know what I mean. They also pitted. He was the only guy who was able to get to sixth place. He finishes sixth with 114 laps led. That causes Chase Elliott, who only led at the end of the race when we were getting, when we had people pin at the end of the race, when we clearly have all the contenders who were fighting to lead the race all day pit. And so when you're looking at the optimal, when you're looking at how last year's race went, and you're seeing that, like, well, this is kind of weird. You know, it was basically just a one dominator type of race. You know, you had Chase Elliott, win and get there. You know, you had Denny Hamlin get there. I don't believe Kyle Busch nor Truex Jr. were optimal. They certainly scored well. I could be wrong there, but I'm looking at this from an instance to where just kind of eyeballing it, that Truex starts 10th. You know, he finishes 22nd. That kind of negates all those fast lap points and laps led points that he get. You have Kyle Busch going from 36th to 21st. He might still be optimal. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I'm assuming that people are going to look up there and just possibly forget that we just had an entire change of what was optimal, what wasn't optimal in the last green-white checkered. Okay? This was an incredibly tilting race for me and a lot of people who were just on the Toyotas last year. And, just wanted to review that and put that in your mind. Also, we had a bunch of lightning. We had red flags. Like, this is a marathon of a race, okay? And the fact that we had a very, very popular William Byron and Alex Bowman just get removed early in the race. And then a place differential of Chase Briscoe also ran into issue. This is a pretty wild race, so you got to keep that in mind whenever you're looking at all the data and stuff. You need to understand the context of what happened in this race. When we look here, and this is probably my, not miss, because I haven't been running like 20 lineups and stuff. You know, Blaney comes out and kills in the Coca-Cola 600. But where was Blaney at, you know? When we look at Ryan Blaney, he's there, you know? Probably didn't do, it's not that I didn't do due diligence. Maybe I was just, kind of target fixated. I forgot. Wormhole, tunnel vision. I had tunnel vision on the Hendrick Motorsports, the Toyotas, Larson, Byron. I mean, Blaney's up there as well. This is showing just top 10 so you guys can actually see that and stuff like that. But Ryan Blaney clearly taking a turnaround in terms of recent races and stuff. Excuse me. You know, his showing at Gateway was also good to see of him leading 83 laps at Gateway. Just being up there, getting that, feel of being back up top. I understand that we're at an intermediate track, but look, the turnaround that we're seeing from Ryan Blaney is notable, and it's not just he came out of thin air. He was the third best car at Dover, seventh best car at Kansas, 13th best car at Darlington. So, when you're able to get up there, qualify well. I didn't play Blaney in the Coca-Cola 600, but that it's certainly not a surprise that Blaney did that. Looking at hindsight being 2020 and everything like that. Yet again, who's going to be there? I know we mentioned it, or a viewer mentioned it in the Sonoma live show, just because it's Sonoma, not necessarily a short track intermediate. But he was like, do we still stack Byron and Larson? I see absolutely, or not even stacking, but do we want to have interest in William Byron? You should. 3 of these 4 races, he's been the second or the best car. I find it very difficult to believe that Byron isn't a contender to lead laps, isn't a contender to get the lead on pit lane, isn't a contender to be a top 5 car all day. Same thing with Larson. We're seeing Larson right up there as well. We're seeing that Larson is not necessarily struggling, but, really, really splitting hairs and stuff. Certainly a top 6 car. Do we have salaries out right now? Let me take a look. A very quick look. We do. So Larson's 11.6. Kyle Busch 11.2. That's kind of odd. I get here. We could do like kind of a first reaction of, oh my gosh, Cruz reacts to the pricing. That's kind of weird. Kyle Busch being the second most expensive driver. We'll come back to the Larson discussion. I just want to look at this. Truex, third most expensive, deserves it. Where's Byron at? Byron's 10. What the fuck? See, we're just going to be playing Byron each and every fucking week. I don't understand it. Where's Hamlin at? Hamlin's right there. Kind of say argument can be made with Larson, but Hamlin's there. We're seeing Elliott be. That's a bit of an overprice. But Byron 10-1, by far probably the best value on the slate, just right now based on upside. Blaney is there as well. We can understand that, and certainly if Blaney starts up front, he's certainly not going to hinder your lineup at 9-9. Let me pause this real fast. So we continue to go through. We see Chastain at 10 at 9.6, which, man, that's. We're there. Probably upside. Just that, man, he is really. The main issue with Chastain is he's just really outside of Dover. Yeah, Chastain was the fifth best car at Kansas. Didn't do anything with that. That's 40 points. You know, we have Darlington at. Hold on, I gotta pause this again. Yeah, so you need to keep all of these in. At least in context of what he's scoring fantasy-wise. So some of this, not that this is misleading, because this is where they are in terms of fastest cars and best teams on the track, but these aren't necessarily relating to the DFS points they're getting, which is, yet again, why it's so weird that Byron is 10-1. It's so weird. Like, going all the way back to Dover, Byron scores 118 points at 11-2, scores 49 points at Kansas at 10-9, scores 60 points at Darlington. Coca-Cola 600 scores 70 points. I mean, we're getting like 6x from Byron every time at these tracks practically. I don't understand why Byron is 10-1. Certainly between Larson and Byron, I'm probably gonna have more Byron, and so far I foresee Byron probably being my most own driver right now, just because I just don't understand his price there. Let's go ahead and look at all these guys together just so we can all see where they're at. You know, we see Bell here, we see Reddick, which I have very little interest in Reddick. He hasn't shown really anything, even when he has opportunities to possibly lead laps and stuff. He's just not able to stay up there. Even the Coca-Cola 600, 37 fast laps, 28 laps led. At Kansas, 10 fast laps, 23 laps led. He just couldn't stay up there. I know the 73 points at Charlotte is impressive, but I don't know. I want to see the practice data from Reddick to help me get there. We're just gonna go through everybody just so you can all see. We got Harvick right here, right at like the 10th best driver week in and week out. Let's see how he's performed. Darlington 65, Kansas 34, Dover 19, Coca-Cola 633 points. So he's only hit value 25% of these times when we're looking at these last four races. Logano, just, man, I mean, it's so hard to really have any faith in Penske, which, yeah, I've said the same thing with Blaney doing this type of stuff, but, man, even Logano gonna need some help there. Wallace at 8-4. Let's see where he scored. 44 points, Coca-Cola 600. Darlington 44. Kansas 62. Dover 48. I mean, Bubba Wallace has hit value pretty much every time. Him at 8-4. This is the third. 8,000 at Dover, 83 at Charlotte. He's 84 this weekend. Like, right now, Byron and Bubba Wallace really seem like probably the best values that we're seeing. Even a situation to where, Bubba started second at Darlington. He finished fifth. Unfortunately, he didn't get the fucking lead because his picker is ass. But I think it's safe to say that no matter where Bubba starts, there's a good chance he's going to finish inside the top 8. I think he could very easily pay that off, and certainly we see him clicking off. Keep this in mind. I've said this before, but 3 fast laps at Dover, 15 fast laps at Kansas, 15 fast laps at Charlotte. Coca-Cola 600 was 3. Was certainly disappointing there, but Bubba Wallace is getting a fast lap. Guaranteed at least one fast lap in this race. So that's interesting to see. And past that, we're pretty much back at the point to where if we're paying up for 3 of these guys, which I still say I think that's how I want to go about it. Trying to get maybe 1 or 2 guys either in the 10 or above, probably 1 9K guy, or 1 11, 1 9, 1 8 if you want to get to Bubba Wallace, whatever you want to do there. We are yet again right back to the value plays. Let me check. Let me make sure who is in this entry list real fast. All right, cool. I mainly just wanted to see what Rye Gilman was in here. So as we continue to go through and look at the salaries for these drivers in this race, Yaley at 45. Interesting that we get the men's salary back, who has been absolutely fucking murdering the field lately. Like, honest to God, I'm actually shocked that he's back to men's salary. We have had wrecks and things of that nature, but and stuff, and he has not had the speed. But if you've played Yaley in some lines like we've been doing in the Discord, at least making 1 or 2 Yaley lines, no matter what you're really doing, you've been absolutely cooking. I mean, he has saved you from probably from not cashing, even if you have a big name guy get involved in a wreck. Like, let's actually look at this. Like, this is an anomaly. This is such an anomaly. So typically when you play the guy who is in the slowest car, look, okay, fine. BJ McLeod's in the slowest car. We got Josh Bilicki also being slow, or Ty Dillon, whoever's in the 15 week in and week out. But for the most part, when you're playing a bottom 3 car in terms of speed, we're not seeing that it works out a lot. But you have to take note of when the situation is certainly changing here. And so let's look at these last 3 races for J.J. Yaley. At Dover, starts 21st, finishes 28th. That alone has to be eye-opening. Like, what did Yaley... And we'll look at this together as we kind of go through this here. But why is it important? I mean, this is... You need to absolutely... That's the wrong year. I hate when these sites move like that. When we look at Dover, and we see all the people who got involved in a wreck, that's huge, man. A lot of big name guys got involved in a wreck, and she finishes 28th. Regardless if he starts up here or starts down here, you got to take note of that. Like that's legit. Okay, so then we move on to Kansas. Okay, J.J. Yaley starts 35th, finishes 23rd. That's pretty bananas. That's pretty wild. It's pretty cray-cray. And he basically did this on speed. Like, there's a lot of this race where he was outrunning people, like, legitimately. We would end up getting, waiver rounds and stuff, but you got to actively, like, pay attention to that. Now, this is an anomaly in and of itself. Typically, even if they're involved in a wreck, like, this is a situation where we didn't have a lot of guys get wrecked out. We had several people get involved in incidents and go laps down and stuff. But still, Yaley, finishes 23rd. Like, that, you got to take note of that, especially when he's starting dead last. Then you get to the Coca-Cola 600, and we get to a situation where, yeah, we had a lot of dumb stuff happen and people got involved in wrecks. But hey, like, brother man, look, this is on pace. This is on speed. Granted, we have a lot of wrecks back to back, but, like, guys, this is a 20-lap green flag run. This is legit. He's actually been there. I'm not saying he's going to finish 16th this week. I'm not saying he's going to finish 24th. But with the speed that we have seen from even the other Rick Ware car in general, now Todd Gilliland got involved in the crash, Coca-Cola 600, but he was running, anywhere from 32nd to 28th pretty much all day, and he kept on being screwed over when Johnson just kept on taking out his teammates and stuff. But J.J. Yaley at, men's salary, are you kidding me? With huge upside. Like, the floor for J.J. Yaley is about 8 to 7 points. The floor is certainly up there, anywhere from hidden value to this just anomaly. This is wild, man. You want to talk about some crazy shit? Average finish. Look at this. I mean, this is insane. This is going back to Joe Gibbs years. I mean, we are looking at, that's the wrong one. We are looking at Joe Gibbs. JG, this is actually 96. This is not Joe Gibbs. Is that 2007? Might be 2007 I'm thinking of. Yeah. Yaley has been there. Yaley has wildly been keeping this car together. DFS-wise, not working. Possibly, we look at Atlanta. There's been a lot of... Actually, let me just say this right now. We'll look at his fantasy points since this Fontana race. So Fontana 18, 4, 25, 3, 6, 5. Talladega 61, Dover 7, Kansas 31. Wait. Dover. Oh yeah, Dover 7, Kansas 31. All-Star doesn't count. Coca-Cola 600, 47. Gateway 30 points. This is a man who is starting last nearly every week. Am I going to project him to finish 24th this week? No, I'm going to give him 29th like I always do. But you got to at least pay attention to when something's going on. I don't know if people are going to want to go there or not, but I just found it very peculiar that JJ's min salary at this point. I don't understand it at all. You even look at Balicki, 23, 11, 35, 11 points in his 4 starts this year. Brendan Poole, you got to remember that he was involved in that wreck at Dover, scores 9 points. The race at Kansas scores 20. Darlington gets involved in a wreck, finishes with 5 points. Like, all these men's salary guys, realistically, Poole at 4.7, Balicki at 4.6, Yaley at 4.5, they're in play. Not saying play 2 of them. Not saying make them your priority, but if you like chasing after multiple expensive guys, Yaley's there. And it's not just this week. I'm saying this going forward, because I'm sure this weekend we're going to have a lot of questions. I'm sure the people will talk about this stuff as well, related to what Yaley's been doing. But really, like, the whole bottom salary is always in play. And I think you should always encourage yourself to build some lines playing the men's salary guy and just seeing what you can fit up there. But I'm just saying, the Yaley plays have been absolutely killer. Those have been some of the best lines I've done this year with Yaley. Even, yet again, with Larson running issues, with Byron running issues and stuff. I've had Yaley in some of those lines as well, and it's pretty nuts. Once you get past the men's salary, folks, who else is there? We see Gillen. Gillen is there. This is a Rick Ware entry, but Gillen is there. Back in the front row 38 machine, $5,000, needs 28 points or 25 points to hit value. Very easy to do. Gregson, I am concerned, coming back off the concussion, has been pretty much the slowest car that isn't the back marker this year. I think 5.2 is concerning. When we look at LaJoy, we've certainly seen him take a step down for whatever reason. We've just seen him take a step down. Now, he has been better. He got saved. He was the 27th, 28th fastest car at Charlotte. He ends up bringing home in 17th with all the yellows that happened. Finishes 24th at Darlington when he just hasn't had the speed. So, his finishes based on where he's run are a bit misleading. He's been phenomenal at gaining positions and finishing better than his average running position. But LaJoy, 5.3, I think that's a little too cheap for what he can give you upside-wise. Certainly if this race has a bunch of restarts late, he's phenomenal at getting positions late. Burton has pretty much had the opposite effect, where he's been qualifying extremely well. It's just been really, really hard for him to hold on to those positions. At the start of the race, he's the best play down there. And, at Darlington, he starts 14th. We get some green and white checkers. He almost wins the freaking race, and he finishes 6th. But he was the 14th best car at Darlington. Burton is a must play if he starts probably outside the top 19. if he starts inside the top 18, it's a situation where can he realistically hold on all day up front, which we haven't seen him be able to do outside of the, outside of Chastain fencing Larson at Darlington for no reason and giving these guys restart after restart. Harrison hasn't been able to get there. And so if we have a situation where Harrison is starting like 15th again, I just can't recommend playing him. He has not been able to do it outside of the restarts that we had at Darlington. We're seeing Justin Haley's price come back down. This has to be just based on how he's been performing lately, with 21st at Infineon, 16th at Gateway, 15th at Coca-Cola 600. Not really getting close to what his value needs to be. He's back at 5,600. When we look at Haley, if I can look at that, if I can bring him up, if I can go, we see Haley right inside the top 23. Just depends on where he qualifies. We're most likely going to see him have race speed anywhere from probably 17th to 24th. We can always go back and look at practice data from there. McDowell, who has been somebody that I've been playing quite a lot of, worked sometimes, doesn't work other times. His qualifying effort has been questionable. It seems like his qualifying speed is very relative to what he is doing in the race. We're seeing more of it go in that direction. If he can qualify up front, he has a real chance of staying up front. Very similar to, or not similar to Burton. But the correlation, like when we look at McDowell's practice laps, when we look at his qualifying lap, and we look at his race speed, it is all very correlated. We have not seen a situation where McDowell is slow in practice, he's slow in qualifying, and they find the speed in the race. That has not been seen by McDowell this year. If McDowell has a fast car, he's going to be fast in all three sessions. We're not seeing drastic changes from McDowell. So if McDowell shows us top 20 speed in practice, I would trust that. If he shows speed outside the top 20 in practice, I'm going to lean on trusting that as well. That's my summary on McDowell. As we continue to go up, Austin Dillon, Jones, Eric Almirola, A.J. Allmendinger, Cindric, Briscoe, Priest, all these guys, this is going to be specifically based on practice speed, based on what your lineup can do. Like just for example, if you're paying up, which I think this is a way that I want to go about it. I think I want to have some lineups that kind of build this direction. I find it hard to believe that you shouldn't have this. But like for example, you go Byron Wallace Truex, 10-1, 8-4, 10-9, leaves you $6,800 left. Even if you go to somebody like Yaley or you stay in the lower 5K range, you're probably not going to get to a situation where you're really in the 6K range a lot this week. I don't really see you just purposely landing on Haley, McDowell, Jones, Dillon. Like you kind of have to build these guys in mind. You're most likely staying either in the mid to high 8s or low 9s, or you're mainly staying in the 5K range here. I think that 7 and 6K range are kind of dead zones. Granted, if we see like some must play place differential or something there, we can certainly clearly go for them there. But yet again, this is kind of just mainly what I focus on and look at and kind of build projections off of. This is just what I use to kind of sort everybody. It's a combination of how they ran the race, pit road, how they run the race, how they are in pit lane, where they're running in the race for a majority of it, if they're getting fast laps, if they're giving lap sled, things of that nature. All that is integrated with how these standings are. And past that, that's my preview for Nashville. Hopefully this helps you out in some form or fashion, and I will see you guys in the live show on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, talking trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. If you guys want to support me, support the work that I do, you can always donate through the PayPal link description below, or you can join the Patreon. See you guys later.